Hello and welcome to weekly discussion number 5 on job order costing. Now, this week we learned about job order costing, assigning manufacturing overheads, differentiating between different inventories, and how the costs flow from one inventory to the next depending on the process and how the product is being manufactured. Also, making use of a predetermined overhead rate model and how to do journal entries for costs. Allocating costs to the production of products can be rather complicated, and it's quite easy to get caught up in the details, especially when it comes to allocating overhead costs. They can actually vary from production run to production run, as many activities can take place that didn't take place in the previous one. For example, additional casual labor might be employed to complete a job on time. There might be a spike in utilities consumption, or some critical components may have to be courier overnight at additional cost. So having all the actual overhead costs available on time when the products reach the final inventory may be quite challenging. Therefore, using a predetermined overhead cost model helps businesses to have a standardized method of applying overhead costs, and then when the actual costs are collected, corrections can be made after the fact, but at least then once product reaches final inventory, cost of goods can be calculated, a selling price calculated, and the product can leave. When I was a student, I worked in a motor vehicle assembly plant. The cost of the direct materials did sometimes vary depending on the international metal prices. Direct labor was more or less constant. However, casual staff and overtime were often used when production was falling behind, and this would impact your indirect labor costs. The factory environment also needed heating and cooling depending on the season, so therefore the overheads were different for each season and, in fact, each month of the year. So, based on past experience, these factors could be used to build a predetermined overhead costing model that could be used to predict overheads for the next month and then recalibrated and recalculated every month, depending on whether there was under or over allocation.